From the New York Times, it's The Headlines. I'm Tracy Mumford. Today's Friday, September 5th. Here's what we're covering. A Times investigation has found that back in 2019, the U.S. military tried to carry out a top-secret mission in North Korea that quickly fell apart. SEAL Team 6, the same unit that was sent in to kill Osama bin Laden, was dispatched to the shores of North Korea to plant an electronic device that would let the U.S. intercept Kim Jong-un's communications. At the time, the reclusive dictator and President Trump were engaged in high-level nuclear talks. Putting American troops on North Korean soil was incredibly risky. If detected, it could have sunk the negotiations or escalated into a conflict with a nuclear-armed adversary. It was so risky, it required the president's direct approval. When the SEALs arrived, they expected an empty beach. But a North Korean boat appeared. Afraid that they'd been spotted, the SEALs opened fire, killing everyone on board. Evidence suggests they were likely civilians diving for shellfish. The SEALs then retreated, without planting the listening device. U.S. officials told The Times it was unclear if North Korea ever pieced together what happened or who was responsible. Details of the operation remain classified, and it's never been publicly acknowledged by the U.S. The first Trump administration did not notify key members of Congress who oversee intelligence operations, and that lack of notification may have violated the law. The White House declined to comment. For the full investigation, go to nytimes.com. This morning, the latest jobs report will come out, offering an update on the state of the labor market. The report is generally considered to be a key economic indicator of how things are going, and never really stirred up much controversy until last month. When that report came out, it showed an unexpectedly weak labor market, and President Trump fired the head of the agency that produces the data, calling it rigged. Economists across the political spectrum criticized the decision, saying it could undermine trust in the numbers. Today's report will now be the first since the firing, and for the moment, economists and statistics experts the Times spoke with said there haven't been any big process changes that could cast doubt on its accuracy. Trump's new pick to lead the Bureau of Labor Statistics, a conservative economist and Trump loyalist, is not in place yet. He still needs to be confirmed by the Senate. Instead, a deputy BLS commissioner is in charge, who's run the Bureau twice before. Also, a lot of the report is highly automated, relying on data provided by companies themselves. Still, like every jobs report, economists say to take today's with a grain of salt. The data routinely gets revised after the initial publication. Now, 3 quick updates from Washington. Congress is back in session this week, and the lawmakers are staring down a key deadline. Unless they can reach some sort of spending deal, federal funding is set to run out on September 30th, at which point the government will shut down. Republican and Democratic leaders have conceded they need to reach some sort of temporary measure to keep that from happening. But at the moment, it's unclear what that could even look like, given how far apart the parties are on key issues, with Republicans pushing for deep cuts and Democrats resisting. Democrats also say they're concerned that even if they do reach a spending deal, the Trump administration may simply continue to cancel funding it doesn't agree with, even after Congress approves it. Also, President Trump is set to sign an executive order today renaming the Department of Defense the Department of War.
So it used to be called the Department of War, and it had a stronger sound. And as you know, we won World War I, we won World War II.
He floated the idea last week, saying he wanted to restore the name the agency had when it was first founded by George Washington. It was changed to Defense after World War II. The switch now underscores how the president is trying to project a more aggressive image of the U.S. military. Despite the order, it's unclear if Trump alone can change the name. Congress was previously the one to do that, though the president said last week, quote, "I'm sure Congress will go along if we need that." Though he added, "I don't think we even need that." And a federal appeals court has delivered the latest legal twist for the migrant detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz. A lower court ruled last month that the detention center, which sits in the middle of the Florida Everglades, had to be dismantled because it had not undergone a federal environmental review. But in a 2-1 decision yesterday, the appeals court overturned that, saying the facility can stay open. Both of the judges in the majority were appointed by Trump. They found that because the state of Florida operates the facility, it was not subject to certain federal rules. The decision comes as other Republican-led states have set up their own migrant detention centers with matching alliterative branding. Nebraska is opening the Cornhusker Clink, and Indiana, the Speedway Slammer. The administration has played up the catchy names on social media, though some critics have said they find the jokey approach to mass deportation insensitive and cruel.
Have you ever noticed how some models stay young and slim even in their 50s or 60s?
On social media, there's been a surge in videos recently of prominent doctors promoting health and wellness products that seem a little too good to be true.
The secret lies in vitamin B12 with beetroot.
The problem? The doctors are real, but the videos are fake. Scammers are using AI tools to craft videos that make it look and sound like real medical professionals are offering these endorsements.
So you can imagine my complete shock, horror, disbelief when I find that somebody has deepfaked me online.
Dr. Gemma Newman, a physician in Britain who's written books on nutrition, posted a warning on her Instagram recently about the fake videos of her that are circulating. Other ads out there show another doctor, an endocrinologist from California who's written a lot about obesity, hawking something called liquid pearls for weight loss. He didn't even know about the ads until the Times asked him about them. While there have always been wellness scams and snake oil products out there, experts say that faking real doctors is especially nefarious because it undermines all the things people are told about how to spot misinformation. To verify an endorsement, you might think to look up the doctor's name, at which point you'd see that they're a real person with real credentials, but you might still not know the ad was fake. Meta, which owns Facebook, where many of the ads appeared, began taking some of them down after the Times asked about them. The company said, quote, "We know that there will be examples of things we may miss," and said it was rolling out new efforts to detect impersonations of public figures. And finally,
of course I'm wearing Armani.
It's Armani.
Of course it's Armani, baby. It's Armani, baby.
Giorgio Armani, who built a billion-dollar empire on fashion, fragrances, and luxury goods, died yesterday at 91 years old. Born outside Milan, his career in fashion happened somewhat by accident. He first studied medicine, inspired by the doctors who treated him after he was badly burned as a kid in World War II when a mine detonated near his home. He later served in the army and worked as a photographer, before his eye as a stylist got him a top job in menswear with no formal fashion training. Times fashion critic Vanessa Friedman says one of Armani's biggest legacies is how he transformed the simple suit.
When he arrived on the scene in the late 70s, everyone thought that to show you were the boss, you had to wear very constraining, very constructed suits. And he created something that proved that you could look confident and feel kind of liberated at the same time.
Vanessa says Armani stripped out the traditional shoulder pads and the stiff canvas lining and gave suits a softer silhouette that became the look for both men and women. She says Armani also fundamentally changed the world of fashion by turning the red carpet into essentially a runway. He was one of the first designers to send clothes to celebrities to wear at events.
Actors had essentially dressed themselves and often ended up on the wrong side of the fashion police. And he transformed that entire equation. I mean, you literally cannot think of a red carpet or an award show without thinking of a dozen people dressed in Armani. He's become essentially synonymous with red carpet.
Those are the headlines. But if you would like to play the Friday news quiz, stick around. It's coming up just after these credits. This show is made by Will Jarvis, Jessica Metzger, Jan Stewart, and me, Tracy Mumford. Original theme by Dan Powell. Special thanks to Isabella Anderson, Larissa Anderson, Jake Lucas, Zoe Murphy, Katie O'Brien, and Paula Schumann. Now, time for the quiz. Every week, we ask you a few questions about stories the Times has been covering. Can you answer them all? First up, On Wednesday, Russian President Vladimir Putin joined Chinese President Xi Jinping for a massive military parade in Beijing. The two world leaders were filmed walking together, looking very friendly and making small talk. And a hot mic actually caught what they were chatting about. Your question, what were Putin and Xi discussing? And if you speak Mandarin, you have a little bit of an advantage here. A little hint, the topic is something that the two leaders who are both in their 70s and who have both suggested they want to stay in power for a long time would be very interested in. The answer? Human immortality. Apparently, Xi suggested humans might soon be able to live to 150, and Putin said that if people could just get constant organ transplants, they could live forever. Notably, one of Russia's big state-owned companies said last year that it was developing technology to, quote, print human organs. Okay, next question. This weekend, the Pope is set to canonize the first millennial saint, Carlo Acutis, an Italian teenager who died of leukemia in 2006.
So Carlo's a saint, and he's also a teenage kid. What was his favorite video game?
He loved very much video games.
He did. Yeah.
PlayStation.
In an interview with a Catholic YouTube channel, Carlo's mother said he was drawn to religion as a young child. He even created a website devoted to listing religious miracles. Your question. Given his tech savviness, some Roman Catholics are already calling Carlo the patron saint of what? The answer? The patron saint of the internet. Carlo's rise to sainthood has actually happened at lightning speed compared to other saints. In past centuries, it took an average of more than 260 years between death and canonization. In Carlo's case, it took just 19. And last one here. This week, a whole bunch of iconic movie props went up for auction in Los Angeles. Bidding is still open if you have a few extra $1 million lying around. That is how much some of these props are expected to go for. We're going to play you the sound of some of these priceless items from their big movie moments. Can you guess what is up for sale? First one, you've got this. I believe in you. The answer? If you said lightsaber, I will give it to you. It is Darth Vader's lightsaber specifically. The item does have a little bit of wear and tear, some scratches and dents, but that's what happens when you battle your own son and cut his hand off. Okay, next one, a little harder. Listen closely. Think archaeology. The answer? That is Indiana Jones's whip. The one they're auctioning off is an 8-foot-long strip of leather seen in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And last one, a little tricky, I will admit. We're going to go back to sci-fi here.
I am just a figment of your imagination. Damn, what a gullible breed.
The answer? It's that little device from Men in Black that Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith use to wipe people's memories, technically called a neuralizer. Apparently this one up for auction is still functional. By that, I mean it lights up when you press some of the buttons. Don't get too excited here. Okay, that is it for the news quiz. If you want to tell us how you did, what you think about the quiz, you can always email us at theheadlines@nytimes.com. The show will be back on Monday.